Recording begin het.
Right.
Okay, recording has started. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you very much, Henry. We're going to handle a short chapter, part of the syllabus tonight, but it's very important for your understanding when you go further into electronics. But I see there's quite a lot of people who understand Ohm's law anyway. But there's a couple of subtle points we just need to discuss, which is not in the text here. So let's start off with the word resistance. Okay, and you can follow, you'll see on the right hand below on my slides is the page number. So I try to summarize. I don't just want to read from the text. That's your job to read and then listen to the recording again. Okay, so we know that electric current is the flow of charge and is caused by a potential difference between 2 points, like on a battery. The greater the electric potential between the 2 points, that's voltage, joined by a conductor, the greater the current flowing through the conductor. And that we explained on Tuesday also. The size.
Louis.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if we're supposed to see a screen. All that we see is a Gmail screen for my mail account.
Let me just try again. Yeah. Okay, let me just try again. I send a stop sharing. Okay, let's try again. Sharing the screen. Okay. What do you see now?
Seems like, okay, yeah, there we go. That's all it brings. Yeah, the slides are there. Thanks.
Right. So it says radio amateur examination RIE October, né? Chapter 4.
That's right.
Then you see the next slide, resistance.
Just a blank slide.
Yeah, a blank slide, and there we go.
There we go. All right, thank you.
Right, okay. But let's just start again. As you'll see in the right bottom corner, that's where you can follow, that's where we are in the text. Okay, so we know that electric current is the flow of charge and is caused by a potential difference between 2 points. And the greater the electric potential between the 2 points joined by a conductor, the greater the current. And that we discussed on Tuesday using water pipes as an analogy. So the larger the pipe, the greater the current of water can flow through it. And also the same applies to electrical cables. So the size of the current flowing not only depends on the electric potential between the 2 points, and current flow is also affected by the quality of the conductor, known as the resistance. Now, just one very important thing. If you look at graphs, you'll always see there are 2 variables on a graph. But here we have 3 variables. So if you take a normal graph, you'll always get the independent variable and then the dependent variable. The dependent variable is a function of the independent variable. Now here we have 2 independent variables. The first independent variable is the electric potential of the voltage, because you've got a battery or a power supply which supplies potential. That's your first independent variable. Voltage you can vary. The other independent variable is resistance. So you can put a resistor in your circuit. So current is the dependent variable. Current always depends on either voltage or resistance. You cannot have voltage be dependent on current. You understand my reasoning here. And that's very important when you work with Ohm's law, that you have 2 independent variables and 1 dependent variable, and the only dependent variable is current. All right. So the resistance of a conductor can be thought of as the extent to which it resists the flow of the current. So in a water pipe, you've got the dam, which is the one independent variable. You've got a tap or a big valve, that's the other independent variable, and you've got the water flowing through, which is a dependent variable, so you can adjust it. So the greater the resistance, the lower the current. And conversely, the lower the resistance, the greater the current that will flow. So that applies for both scenarios. So George Ohm discovered that the current through a conductor between 2 points is directly proportional to the potential difference across the 2 points. So if the current through a conductor doubles, the voltage will also double. But I don't entirely agree with that, because voltage is the independent variable. So if voltage doubles, current will double. And the same applies if voltage drops, current will also drop, because current is dependent on voltage. So I do not entirely agree. It does make sense, but I do not entirely agree with that sentence there. And you'll see it there on page 53. And go think about this a bit, and then what we discussed here tonight, because when we talk of dependent and independent variables. So, but it still works. This relationship can mathematically be expressed by indicating that the voltage across the conductor is equal to the current through the conductor multiplied by some constant for that particular, which is a characteristic of that particular conductor, whether it be copper, gold, aluminium, or whatever, which in this case was called the resistance of the conductor by Ohm. So if you take a piece of copper wire, you'll get a certain resistance on that wire. Silver will have a less resistance, and gold is in between silver and copper. But if you take wolfram, you'll have a higher natural resistance. Now, so Ohm's law is very simple, but it can also be a big pitfall. So it's very simple. Voltage equals current times resistance. And we'll do a couple of examples. But now ask yourself the question, if resistance is 0, and you take current and you multiply it by 0, what do you get? Then you get a 0 voltage. If you apply this formula blindly, and that is to me is a bit of a paradox about Ohm's law, and you have to be very careful how you apply this thing. It doesn't work that simple as we think. So the unit of resistance is ohm. The abbreviation of ohm is the Greek letter omega, which is written as the Greek omega symbol. And the conductor has a resistance of 1 ohm. If an application of a potential of 1 volt across a conductor causes a current of 1 ampere to flow through the conductor. Okay, so that's very simple, and I'm going to show a table at the end just to illustrate that. So resistance can be thought of as the opposition to the flow of electric current through a conductor or electric circuit. Right, so here we have, I think you've seen this picture. There we have voltage trying to push current through a pipe, and we have ohm or resistance there limiting the current. So voltage is an independent variable, ohm is an independent variable, and current is dependent on either or. Voltage, let's say and or, actually and, voltage and resistance. That's a very important concept to understand, that current is always dependent on voltage and resistance. Now, thinking of water flow, a thin pipe will exhibit a lot of resistance, while a thick pipe will exhibit low resistance. And we had that picture of the tap there, and you can adjust that nozzle in front up to a point where no water flows out. So your resistance is virtually so high that no water flows through. And here's another example. You've got a high voltage or a high potential of water, or a big power supply, and a lot of current flowing through with very little resistance opposing the flow of water. That's the opposite. Now we got the symbols in mathematical equations, and this is page 53 to 54. And if you're looking there at, just go look at 4.3, rearranging of Ohm's law. Just practice just check if you still understand your algebra there, how Ohm's law is applied, and how you rearrange the variables to get to the point where you want to, either to calculate voltage, resistance, or current. So certain symbols are commonly used to represent particular quantities. Example, V is used to represent electrical potential or voltage, or R is used to represent resistance, and I represents electrical current. So using these symbols, instead of the full names, Ohm's law is written as V equals IR. Voltage equals current times resistance. So V is voltage, I is current, and R is resistance. Very simple. So therefore, if the current flowing through a conductor is known and the resistance of the conductor is known, the electric potential across the conductor can be calculated. But be very careful. Always take this into account. It's not always, you can do it mathematically, but I'll show you where the pitfall is. Okay, so these are variables that you do have, but remember, the one is dependent variable and the independent variables. Right, so let's look at this very simple example. And that is on the top of page 54. A current of 5 amp is, beg your pardon about my spelling here, is flowing through a conductor. The resistance of the conductor is 2 ohms. Calculate the voltage flowing through the conductor. Thus, I is 5 amps and R is 2 ohms. Applying Ohm's law, voltage is I times R, which is 2 times 5, and it's 10 volts. But still, remember, I is not an independent variable. So then, all right, so as I said there, read section on page 54, the use of E for voltage. That's your rearranging of E, of the Ohm's law. So when you rearrange Ohm's law, I see I didn't have it here. We now know how to calculate voltage when the current and resistance is known. But using Ohm's law, either current or resistance can also be calculated if the other quantities are known. So using simple algebra, Ohm's law can be rearranged as follows. V equals IR, and by dividing the original equation by I, one gets V over I equals R, or R equals V over I. Then by dividing the original equation by R, one gets V divided by R is I, or I equals V divided by R. And that's on the bottom of page 54. Just make yourself very familiar about how this is works, and algebraically how it works and how it is applied. I just want to this sentence. Look at the sentence now. All right, right at the bottom, page 54. In this form, Ohm's law can be used to calculate the current flowing through a conductor, given the electrical potential or voltage. Where are we? Across a conductor and the current flowing through it. And let me just see what did I think when I crossed it out. Okay, I'll just come back to that. The last lecture, Ohm's law can be used to calculate the current through a conductor, given the electric potential across the conductor. Okay, just cross out, because you already, it's just a repeat there. You can just cross that last section out there. Right, you all know the triangle trick. Sorry that I didn't put it in the notes, but if you use this, you make a triangle and just remember the word vir, V-I-R, and then you can quickly do your calculations there. So you draw a triangle with a T inside, and the top is V and I and R. So V equals I times R, I equals V over R, and R equals V over I. So that's very simple and quick to handle or to remember. Now the big question is, but what if R equals 0 and you do your calculations? So I was thinking about this thing. I just made a small spreadsheet. So if you use Ohm's law strictly as it is, and you have a 0 volt, okay, let's start at the second line. You've got a voltage of 1 volt and 1 ampere. Or you've got a resistance of, let's start again. You've got a current of 1 ampere and a resistance of 1 ohm. So if you take V equals I times R, you get 1 volt, obviously. But if you just a line above that, if you measured, or if your equation says to you, you have 1 ampere but 0 ohms, obviously your voltage will be 0. And that is the problem with that. And that's why I say you have to be very careful. So how can you have 1 ampere if you have 0 voltage? And you understand my problem with that. But now let's go down, and I thought, let me just...
Sorry, Louis, can I just get in here?
Yeah.
Your circuit will never ever have zero resistance. This is theoretical. In practice, you will have an internal resistance in the power supply, or if you short circuit the battery, either the internal resistance will then heat the battery up, or as the wire heats up, it will increase the resistance till it finds a balance.
I'm just asking this hypothetical question.
Well, okay.
This is a hypothetical. That's when you start doing the math or the calculation. I agree with you, but if you say 0 ohms, just be very careful what you understand. Let's look in the center. There's an open circuit. No current, but 1 ohm. Obviously, there will be no voltage. But now look at the interesting... I'm just going to spend a minute here. Now you take your current and you divide your resistance, divided by 10. So you got 0.1 times 1, then you got 0.1 voltage. And as you go down, the voltage decreases. And that's if you strictly apply Ohm's law in this way, you get these funny answers. And if you do the opposite, you take 1 ohm times 1 ampere, you get 1 volt. But if you increase your current, and that's why your resistance, you get this high voltages. So 10 ohms times 1 current, it gives you 10 volt. And 100 ohms times 1 ampere gets you 100 volt. So just take note of this. This is just a theoretical thing I'm showing to you. If somebody starts telling you 0 ohms and so on, just be on the lookout for that. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I've been having a mind blowout about these things for some time. Okay, and that's the lecture. So as I said, let's join the resistance. So let's look at the questions, and then I'm out of your hair. Okay. Okay, so we can look at the questions there. There are not much. There are 8 questions. Are you ready there, Henry? Normal? Okay, the first question is, let's look at the summary. I see there's the little triangle there on page 55. If you are a bit rusty with rearranging equations, you may consider using the triangle trick. This triangle shows the relationship between VI and R. Okay, let's look at the summary. Ohm's law states that the electric potential across a conductor is proportional to the current flowing through the conductor. It can be written as V equals I times R, where R is a constant of proportionality that is known as the resistance of the conductor. Resistance may be thought of as the opposition to the flow of electric current through a conductor or electrical circuit. Resistance is measured in ohm with the abbreviation as omega. Ohm's law can be used to find the electric potential across a conductor. or current flowing through the conductor, or the resistance of the conductor, provided that the other two quantities are known. You see? Right. Let's go through the questions. Number one, the opposition to the flow of current in a circuit is called A, resistance, B, inductance, C, emission, or D, capacitance. Okay, so what's your answer?
A.
Yeah, that's right. Right, second question. The current through a 100 ohm resistor is 120 milliamps, so that is 0.12 amps. What is the potential difference across the resistor?
12 volts.
12 volts.
Yeah, 12 volts. So you take 100 multiplied by 0.12. The resistance value of 1,200 ohms can be expressed as 12 kilo ohms, 1.2 kilo ohm, 1.2 mega ohm, or 0.12 mega ohms.
1.2 kilo ohm.
Kilo ohm, yeah, correct. You see, okay, right. How can the current be calculated when the voltage and resistance in a DC circuit are known? And if you use that triangle there, what do you say there? Current is I, and voltage is E.
E over R. E divided R.
Yeah. Okay. You're gonna pass this examination very easily. A 12 volt battery supplies a current of 250 milliamps, so that's 0.25 amps. What is the input resistance of this load?
48
ohms. That's correct. Yeah. 12 divided by 0.25. Okay, if 120 volt is measured across a 470 ohm resistor, approximately how much current is flowing through the resistor?
0.25.
0.25, yeah. Actually 0.26, but you're correct. You're correct.
Definitely less than 1.
Yeah. How can a voltage across a resistor be calculated when the resistance of and current flowing through the resistor are known?
C.
C, yeah. V is I times R. Okay, and the last one, the law that relates the current flowing through a conductor to the electric potential applied across the conductor is known as?
Ohms.
law.
Yeah, that's correct. We have actually only have worked with Ohm's law so far. Yeah. Okay, so that is it. So thank you very much. Any questions or answers? You can always teach me something. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, ek gaan nog so 'n bietjie luister. Gaan jy aan, Henry?
Well, I'm also just listening to, whether there's any questions.
Yeah.
Because like I said to I always say to the students, when they come here, if you get Ohm's law, if you know Ohm's law, you're 90% there, because you're going to use that every day in your electronic life.
Yeah.
And the rest, whatever you want to do else, you can always go and look up the formula. But you've got to really know. And when we do the resistor, we will, you calculate everything, the voltage drop over each resistor, the current through each resistor, because there's certain rules, like the current in any point of the circuit is the same.
Yeah.
And the voltages changes over the resistors.
Yeah.
And then once you've got your current, you can calculate the voltage drop, because you've got your current and the resistance, you calculate the voltage drop.
Yeah.
And if you've got the current and the voltage, you can calculate the power. And the power works, I think we're going to do it, I don't know who's doing it, but it also works with a triangle where P equals VI or EI.
Yeah.
So those things, if you got that, I mean, you're going to use it. If you want to connect an LED to a 12-volt battery, you're going to use it. If you want to use a transistor to switch something, you're going to use the Ohm's law. I mean, it's something you are constantly. So you've got to really spend time on Ohm's law to know it well.
Yeah.
And that's why we've divided the chapters up into single chapters so that we have got time to do these type of things.
But okay, so I just ask this hypothetical question. If somebody tells you resistance is 0, some sadist will test you and see if they can bend your mind about that one. Okay. I see there's a question by Christian Niemand.
Yes, I think as George put it, is that the resistance is considered a constant, therefore it cannot be 0. And also in
but okay, let's think about superconductors. That's why I posed this question. What about a superconductor where that resistance might be so low, asymptotically low, that you can't even.
But so low is not 0.
Not 0, but 10 to the minus 20 or something.
You can.
Like that.
I mean, if you got, I mean, 1 to the minus 100, it's still not 0.
It's still not 0, yeah.
So the superconductors, the resistance does completely vanish, but then it's completely different mathematics that you're using.
Right.
And it's down to quantum again.
Now you're answering the question. You know, what do you do in that case where you really cannot measure any resistance? Then does Ohm's law apply in this case? And does the mathematics apply in this case? So I just wanted you to think about it.
My point would be if you can't measure the resistance, get better equipment, because there will always be resistance.
There will always be equipment, yeah. Okay, so now just one question, and we'll talk about that again. Dankie dat jy lag daar, Christian. Is the matter of why is silver a better conductor than gold? Has anybody thought about it? Okay, we'll talk about it again when we talk about semiconductors.
I think it's the electron bands.
Yeah.
It's got confirmation from material science.
Right.
It's got more available electrons in
That's
material.
correct. Yes, yeah. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Anybody that hasn't looked about it yet, go look at the bands theory, look at the electron configurations, and we'll talk about it again when it's my turn again. I don't know when it is. Yeah. Okay, but thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, Louis.
Right.
Dankie, Louis. Ek gaan nog 'n rukkie rondhang hierso, want ons het miskien gaan ek die recording stop.
Ja, okay. So okay.